beautiful morning. Much obliged to have you join me on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. My name is Sonny Duke, of course, your host on the program. Well, it's a full house, and that's because the issue of discussion today is very robust, is huge, because it's something that could make or mar the 2019 election. Maybe that's the reason why the president is not disposed to it. We're talking about the Electoral Act 2018 as amended. Just yesterday, the president refused to assent to the Electoral Act, and that has attracted a whole lot of comment. But let's quickly meet our panelists today on the program. From my extreme left, I'd like to thank Comrade Collins Amadi Osara for joining us. Comrade, many thanks for coming.
Thank you, Duke. Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
I also have with us in the studio former NBA chairman, Benin Branch, Barrister Eddie Asenongwa. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good morning, listeners at home.
Let me also welcome Bishop Osadolo Oche, a frontline civil society activist in Nigeria. Bishop, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers and listeners at home.
Barrister President Agboha is the Executive Director, Foundation for, what's the name of that organization again now? Freedom of Information Council, yes. We want to thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And we have a regular on the show, Barrister Ovesei Otame. We thank you for joining us on the program Politics Today.
Thank you, Sonny. Good day, listeners and viewers at home.
Okay, for the fourth time, President Muhammadu Buhari has refused to assent to the Electoral Act, and the reasons are obvious. He's of the opinion that the Electoral Act, which of course has been approved by the National Assembly, is too close to the 2019 election. And so assenting the bill will bring a lot of infractions in the processes of conducting the 2019 elections. Remember, one of the key issues about the Electoral Act, which of course the Act attempted to address, amongst many other things, is the use of the card readers, which some say was very instrumental to the success of Mr. President in 2015 election. But our panelists will give us insights into this. First, let me start with our three lawyers here to get their thoughts on this. Let me begin with Barrister Agboha. How germane is the reasons advanced by Mr. President for not accepting to the Electoral Act as approved by the National Assembly? How germane are the reasons?
The reasons are not quoted. I start with saying that when the politicians tell you yes, it means maybe. When he tells you maybe, it means no. When he tells you no, it's not political. President Buhari must give you a reason for not consenting to the bill. And the reasons are not quoted. First, what does the amendment say? The amendment is bringing a capital. And obviously, both can tell us what is the record. The amendment is bringing a platform where votes that are cast in the election are in the INEC database for an analysis purpose, for election competition reasons. They can actually go and analyze the election that was voting that was cast. The amendment is bringing in even an innovation to actually coerce electionary financer, rather than asking that 400 people and spend 200 million and invest under the Electoral Act which is not realistic. Increase it to 1 billion. Rather than asking for example to spend just 1 billion in an election, increase it to 5 billion so that they can actually be measured and the financing can actually be traced openly. These are the innovations that are coming into the new amendment. The new amendment also has that where there are declarations openly and closely on public records, affidavits and all the rest that are conflicting, it's actually a grant for disqualification. That is also very sound innovation. And many will not know that it will not even be card reader, especially making the president scared. Especially the fact that there are so many of his public documents in public domain, over 3 types of white results, over 3 types of age declaration, over 2 pages of his own personal identity, 2 names lying around, oh, the president is not the president. So there are so many factors that are actually amending on the new law that is not making the president to sign it.
Okay. Let me bring Barrister Asenongwa in here. The president talked about the timing of the National Assembly bringing forth this bill for him to assent. He feels that the timing is wrong, and from the analysis given by Barrister Egboha, it will distort processes that are already in progress, advanced stages leading to the 2019 elections. Do you subscribe to this?
Well, first I will say straight away that I do not quite agree that it's going to distort the process. First, Mr. President is trying to lay claim to an excuse that he has created by himself. I perceive mischief. It is clear this is the fourth time that the President is refusing assent. It means that the bill left the National Assembly the first time, went to the President. And what is worthy of note is that the President will wait for the last day constitutionally provided for him to either assent or refuse assent before he will send it back and say, I'm not assenting. The National Assembly will take a second look at it and then send it back to the President. We have gone to and fro 4 times. If you take the 30 days window given to the President to either assent or refuse assent, that's already 4 months. And so, at the last time now, you are not telling us that it is late, it is going to distort. Let us even assume you're right. You must give us the specifics. We know that the Electoral Act has these guidelines, have timelines. For instance, 30 days before this, 40 days before. Which particular area are you talking about? In any event, there is a subsisting and an existing law with which the electoral body and all stakeholders are already working. The ones that have been done, this new act is not coming to say, oh, you must undo it. No. It is where the law takes effect from that everything will begin to fall into place. So the issue of, oh, is likely going to affect. In what area? We have been using the card readers without it being having the backing of the
Constitution,
Act.
okay.
And so the problem we have had is that when you now go to the Electoral Tribunal, it's very easy when you are trying to rely on the card reader and all the reports, the data emanating from that card reader. The court tells you, well, it is not a must. It is not mandatory. As a matter of fact, it is not recognized. And so here is a law that says, oh, we want to give INEC the legal backing, the legal foundation for the use of card readers and any other electronic device as INEC may think necessary. And you are saying no. So for me, the excuse that, oh, it is too close, we still have more than 90 days, about 90 days to election. So what is the timeline that is going to be adversely affected by the new electoral act?
Okay, I'll come back to you. Barrister Tame, I've heard the Senate President, Senator Bukola Saraki, saying that all the issues raised by Mr. President at the third time that the bill was sent to him have all been covered, and that there's no justification for this refusal now. The liaison officer of the National Assembly to the presidency, Senator Ita Enang, yesterday when he was talking with the State House correspondent, after breaking the news, there were pressure on him to give specific details. And the only answer he could muster was that Mr. President was the one who refused to give assent, and is also the one who has the prerogative to give all of those details. Is there something they are not telling us? Do you think there's something fishing in all of this?
Well, it is unfortunate. To me, it's a case of impari delicto.
What does that mean in law?
Where 2 parties are equally at fault. What has existed between the presidency and the National Assembly is a relationship that is far from being cordial. Where you have rejection of views for the 4th consecutive time from the president, it means that all is not well in the relationship between the presidency and the National Assembly. If you observe what goes on between the presidency and the National Assembly, and you look at the events over time, you will discover that the extent of mistrust between these 2 sacrosanct institutions we have in this country is even worse than the mistrust that exists between a prison officer and a prisoner. That is the basis of it all. Now, what was at the front burner in the Electoral Act to be amended, or the proposed bill, was the order of election. Members of the National Assembly placed their own election first. That was the main issue. All other issues, of course, didn't have any problem. But INEC had its own issue to say, well, by virtue of the Constitution, you do not have the powers to reorder election. I would have expected INEC, I would have expected the National Assembly at that point, even before submitting the bill to the presidency, to at the committee level invite stakeholders. The Attorney General of the country can speak on it. INEC as a stakeholder can speak on it, submit memorandum, give it a robust debate, so that whatever is being presented, we have a smooth seal. But on about 3 occasions, we had the presentation of such bills, and the issue keep reoccurring. So what was very obvious at that time was that the presidency wanted an electoral act that is politically expedient to it, while the National Assembly also needed the same thing.
So you're saying the presidency is justified for not assenting?
No. That is not what I have said.
Okay.
What I am saying is that both parties are rendering the service to this nation politically.
Okay.
Because the very purpose of trying to amend the Electoral Act and what the disagreement of Mr. President was with the Electoral Act was the order of election. And it was very clear that what those parties were interested in was really how can our own election be conducted first so that we will win the 2019 election.
But have we not gone past that stage?
Yeah,
we've gone past that stage now.
So the salient issues that now generated from there created the kind of mistrust where perhaps the president now feels that, okay, you have had all your political intrigues and all that, trying to unseat me. Therefore, I will not assent to your electoral.
Okay.
So that being said, I do not agree with what Mr. President has done in that respect. Because even the INEC chairman has said himself that most of the aspects of the bills are innovations from INEC.
Okay.
However, there are aspects of them that cannot be implemented. So at the committee level, before submitting that bill to the presidency, those aspects INEC would find it difficult to implement at the level of the 2019 election ought to have been deleted.
From the Constitution?
Yes,
from the Electoral Act.
The Electoral Act.
Okay, let me pause it there for a moment.
Those are issues.
Bishop Osadolo, I know you've been following these events as they've been unfolding. What options are there? The president has refused to assent to the bill. The National Assembly has already passed it. What options are there to make this bill working to affect the 2019 elections?
You see, like my brother, the barrister, mentioned, there is something obviously I'm not comfortable with in Nigeria. The word presidency. I don't know how we came about that word in Nigeria. Because we never voted for anybody called presidency. We don't have anything called presidency in the Nigerian Constitution, 1999, as amended 2011. He has repeated it here more than 2 times. One, we should be asking ourselves questions and be asking those we have elected. They are taking this country back, that only God will bring us back. So even where we begin to complain that Nigeria is moving backward. One, the wife of the president complained the other day that 2 people are ruling this country.
She didn't mention their names.
They didn't mention their names.
Yeah, but I just wanted you to zero in on the electoral bill that the president has refused to assent to?
I'm coming to that.
No, we need to get there now.
Now,
yes. What option?
Yes, the National Assembly have option according to law.
Okay.
The first law is that they should be able to muster 1/3 of the 2 chambers to be able to assent that they must do that bill or write that bill, to propose it and adopt it and be looked into. After that has been done, they need 2/3 too to be able to pass it or veto it if Mr. President, I don't know of presidency, if Mr. President refuse to assent to it. So it is expected at this stage now that it is obvious that Mr. President has a thing is protecting, it becomes the responsibility of the National Assembly to use this last card of using their powers of 2/3 of the 2 chambers to veto it. And if they don't also veto it, something is fundamentally wrong. And that thing that can be wrong is that they may not have the majority, not simple majority, the required number by law, which is 2/3 of the entire House.
Okay. Comrade Collins, is this over politicization of the ascending to law of the Electoral Act? Do you see any iota of over-politicization of the process?
Really, I don't want to see it being politically motivated. Why have I said that? Because both PDP, APC, ADC, and all other parties have their gains if this Electoral Act come to be. Because one, you cannot tell me, you as a politician that have been in the field, asking people to vote for you, you will not want to do everything possible to protect your vote. Because, you know, thank God Barrister was able to enumerate most of those indices, or those the things that were spelled out in what was supposed to even be amended. But I would want to appreciate Olusegun Obasanjo at this time. You know, the last time he said, the president does not read, and he cannot read, and he should employ someone to be reading for him.
There's no way we can substantiate that.
I am coming, sir.
Yes, I know. There's no way we can substantiate that. There's no way he can substantiate that.
I am not making references to what he said now.
Yes.
Because I am sure, you know, it doesn't come as a piece of paper. It comes in a dossier. And it takes time to open page by page, you know, to read through before you finally assent to whatever is being sent to you. Though it's being called a bill does not mean just a piece of paper you see as a bill. It comes in dossier.
In volumes.
In volumes.
Yeah.
And most times it takes a lot of time to do that. Maybe the president does not have the time to even start going through and reading. You understand? And maybe that is why he needs somebody to really assist him. You know, like what we saw the other day when somebody had to assist him to fix the mic and all that. Sometimes you need someone to assist you. What we are trying to say is that in the not too young to run bill, we have something similar. You know, that was a bill that had to do with the youth you felt you liked at the time. Though the youth have had their scandal outside this country by the presidency, as my Oga said, though we know the president.
Yeah.
Because now we can assist by reducing the blame and pushing it on presidency. Now it took Nigerian youth to protest and shut the gate to the villa to say, if you don't assent to this bill, heaven will fall. Meaning there were a lot of coercion. And I am sure if these our youth and all of us as citizens, you know, had come or stand by the National Assembly after the first proposal, the second, the third, to letting them know this thing have a positive effect on Nigeria, on our electoral act, and for our democracy to grow. It has a real role to play. Maybe the president and the presidency will not take this thing with key gloves. Because what they have just done now is telling us they are not ready to build infrastructure and also ready to build institutions for us. Because amendment, as we have said now, is to help us work on our institutions that can help us have good governance. Now, if you had just told us that it doesn't matter, that the time limit, like what my leader here has also talked about, check the time in, time out, that this proposal has been sent all this while, and you have said nothing, and you have acted none. Now you are now standing on the fact that the time limit and the timing is very close to an election. That is not an excuse. And that will not have, you know, his face in the Nigerian problem as of today. But just as it may, there is always another chance. After all, if at the level of the Electoral Act we had was able to bring him on board, with Nigeria standing by him as at that time, saying we want a change. I am sure the same Nigerians have all not been killed by Boko Haram. Some are still left over. And those ones will still come out. Even if it is just one law we now have, I am sure Nigerians will stand and queue behind that one law in the many to say they will also take a new decision. Because you cannot continue to coward the people all the time. This is an art of being cowarding the people. Because now everybody seems not to want to offend A, not to want to offend B. Even the Police Reform Act.
Okay.
What are they doing?
Let me push you there. Basede Asenongwa. This issue now, whether it is assented by the president or not, if this Electoral Act doesn't come into effect, will it really affect the 2019 election conduct?
Well, what is certain is that there will be an election in 2019. INEC, as the body constitutionally empowered to conduct election, have ruled out their timetable.
Yes.
And we are working with that timetable. And like I said before, there is a subsisting law. The one that was used in 2015 is the Electoral Act 2011. 2011, as amended. Now, that law is extant. That's the one INEC is working with. That's the one we are working with. Now, if the amendment does not scale through, the 2015 remains extant.
Okay.
Remains valid. Nothing has happened to it. Because as a matter of fact, what we are talking about is an amendment to the 2015
2011 Act, yeah.
It's an amendment to that.
Yeah.
So it's not like we are just creating, because if you look at some of the sections, it takes certain sections of the law and amends by either adding or deleting or just rewriting.
Yeah.
So it's an amendment we are talking about. So for me, whether these amendments case through or not, it's not going to affect the election. And I've also said, if you say that, oh, this amendment is going to affect the election, tell us the specific sections, the specific areas. My learned friend has raised the issue of distrust and, of course, looking at the sequence.
Yeah.
For me, I think we should go beyond the stage of being personal, of being even partisan, of being selfish. The focal point should be Nigeria, should be our electoral process. And I keep insisting, until we get our electoral system right, nothing else will work.
Okay, let me pause you there. Barrister Agboha. Barrister Ede Asenogwa earlier raised a very critical issue. I think you also, alluded to that, which is that the Electoral Act, one of the key things the National Assembly wants to use the Electoral Act to correct is the place of the card reader in the electoral process. INEC has come out to say they are ready for the election and that card reader will form a substantial part. I read a story yesterday that in the 2015 election in the Northwest, our current president got about 5-point-something million votes out of the over 7.2 million votes in that zone. And majority of these votes came from non-usage of the card reader. Could this in any way be one of the reasons why there seems to be a reluctance in assenting this electoral bill, in your opinion?
I agree with you. The main reason why the president didn't want to sign it is because the database of every voter will be with INEC. So at any election petition case, you can actually request for such data to analyze. They are not only giving you a soft copy. In the new amendment, they will also give you the hard copy of those election transactions. The president is actually quite reluctant in signing it because of such documentation. But believe me, the Evidence Act has already created a leeway for computer-generated evidence.
Okay.
So now what we are not saying is that even if so long as the INEC is ready to use it, the INEC uses it in an election, who are the umpire for election, and anybody complains about the election being conducted in a way and all that, rather than bringing in your television, where they normally do it back in 1999, you can actually call in with the card reader, and you rely on Evidence Act as a national law that can actually use to prove the viability or non-viability of such an election or such vote that was cast.
Okay.
So there's an option for Nigeria to rely on such a law. But the danger in not signing this law, this bill into a law, is that they are creating a high level of apathy and lack of confidence to the election process. And that happened to Goodluck in 2015. He postponed that election, and the day he postponed the election, he lost 40% of the vote. Because the electorate now feel that he doesn't have the capacity to enter into the election. And that's what is playing out now. Ordinarily, the people of that name almost the engine house to the president. But I've advised him that never you postpone this election. Let us garner the confidence of the electorate to go into the poll. You get the point?
Yeah.
So they are not shooting themselves in the leg adversely by resisting the passage of the law. And the campaign is very strong in the street. That he doesn't want evidence to challenge him when he rigs election. Therefore, it means that the populace will go into that election to do what the president is already afraid of. That's one. Two, the electorate will go into the field to defend their votes. Because they are now afraid that the vote cannot be defended, not even by the court, not even by senior advocates, not even by lawyers. So they will not stand to observe the counting and defend the votes. And that will obviously lead to anarchy.
Okay. Barrister Tamere, you want to add something to that in terms of public perception of what's playing out now and its impact in the 2019 election?
Well, obviously, it should be the fervent prayers of Nigerians that the kind of lack of synergy between the executive and the legislative arm at the national level that played out during this administration should never be a thing in this country, because it is not in the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians.
What are your thoughts on Nigerians' perspectives on this seeming friction that you talked about? Yes.
Yes, very well. Because what is very clear now is that Nigerians themselves are developing such apathy towards the election. You hear that during the Osun State governorship election, a particular candidate was leading, and all of a sudden, another candidate emerged who was the first runner-up, and all of that. So, the review of our laws to meet up with any form of maneuverings of the politician ought to be a welcomed idea. But the truth of the matter is that politicians shouldn't target particular individuals or particular situations or try to do it based on the immediate political expediency of their own. That is the point I am trying to make. What we need to look at is how do we really have these electoral processes and reforms in place that would guarantee good elections now and in the future. There was a recommendation from Honorable Justice Owais over 9 years ago or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Up till now, no part of that recommendation on the electoral reform has been implemented. We have had my Reverend said I shouldn't be mentioning presidency. Not that his president we voted for. Forgetting the fact that we also voted for vice president at the same time.
It's not the presidency.
That is, you see, so when you talk of president or vice or presidency, it depends on the coloration or the...
Depends on the context in which you're using it. Okay. Okay.
So the point I am trying to make is that we have had institutions. National Assembly did not raise up its voice one day to say, look, the beautiful reforms of naval ways, let us implement and let us ensure that it is part of our own laws in the country.
Yeah, but even if they didn't raise that issue, even if they didn't raise this issue, but in their own wisdom,
most of the things they use in America.
Very well.
Yeah.
They did. The point I'm trying to, I raised the point, and we say that is not the issue. You see, when you cannot play something or not, when the foundation is weak, the whole processes will collapse.
Okay, let me pause you there. Let me pause you here.
So the main point, the point being made is that please let us try as much as possible to have system that we can put in place for the future.
Irrespective of whose ox is God. All right, Bishop Sadolo, let me get your final thoughts on this slide.
You see, we cannot throw away the baby and the bad water because of the system. This is a bill that ought to correct all the anomalies, because the law as it is today does not recognize card reader or transmission by electronics. That is the case that affected Peterson or something in Rivers when they went to court. Peterside against Wike. The Supreme Court says that the card reader is not known by law. You cannot replace law with policy or administrative laws. Either it's an act or it's a constitutional matter. So if today the president, I'm sorry to use the language, is becoming selfish over this matter, or for personal reasons, or like you have mentioned, he was able to get 5-point-something million from one zone, and the majority of those votes were not captured with card reader, he may also be relying on those things.
But these are just speculations, Bishop.
No, don't bother about it. We know that one.
Just go ahead.
They are in defeat.
Go ahead, please.
Now, particularly in Kano and the Lagos State, that something is going on that they may do for a cover-up. So we must be sincere in this country. Nigerians are not sincere once they become member of a political party. I have said it time without number that the Nigerian politician is only interested in his party and his pocket, not about people. Majority.
Well, there are those who will disagree. There are those who will disagree with that, Bishop Sadolo J.
They are entitled to
this is a personal opinion.
They are able to say that this country belongs to all of us, and we must leave legacy for our children and children unborn. And this thing should start from us.
Okay. Comrade Collins Samadiosa, I listened to the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, over the week when he had a meeting with the EU delegation who came on a visit, part of preparations for the 2019 election. And he was confident, as usual, that the election will be free, fair, and credible. Against the background of this seeming strong disagreement between the executive and the legislature on the Electoral Act, can that confidence expressed by the INEC chairman be taken seriously?
What would I expect him to say? Or what would Nigeria expect him to say? Even the EU, what would they expect him to say? But it's one man that I believe that posterity will also judge him. Whatever he tries to do is left for him, to overview his own action in the nearest future. But I am very sure that in the 2019 we are going, no matter the promises that is being made by anybody or any quarter, even United States, EU, ECOWAS, they are not even the one to assure Nigerians now. Nigerians need to take their destiny in their hands. If Nigeria want the president back, they will vote him back. But if they say it's not him, they will certainly excuse him. Because one, if Mr. Yakubu, let me add Mr., will tell us this, what happened in Ekiti and in Osun State, can he prove to us that there is an iota of integrity in INEC with what happened in that place? He can't tell us.
These matters are before courts of
competent we know they are before the court of law.
So we just leave it at that, yeah.
Yes, also before the faces of Nigerians. So it's not just for him to tell us. He can continue to tell Nigerians he's going to do his best, to see what best he can do. But because, you can't vouch for a child you are putting in your back, only the one you have in your tummy, you can vouch for. For him, he will be sure he will do the needful. But all Nigerians, all traditional rulers, all religious leaders should call all their brothers and sisters who are also members of the INEC to order. Because it's not about him. In the INEC commission, as it were, we have representatives from all the regions. If in short, from all the states. The 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory are represented in INEC. And they all have all the ad hoc staff. It is from the field they even do the damages. Not even them themselves at the top level. because it's what get to them that they at the end releases. But what first must be done? Who are those in the administrative section? Who are those who have capacity to manipulate? Because one, you have the returning officers, which often, thank God Almighty, that in the recent time they have developed the idea of using vice chancellors, you know, at that level of returning for each state. If vice chancellor chooses to continue to soil their names or decide to begin to soil their name, but so far so good, I'm sure some of them have also tried to show integrity. For those who have also failed, is also written against them.
Posterity will judge them, I believe.
Judge them. Because they should also know now they are fathers of many students. At the level of vice chancellor, how much are they going to bribe you with? That haven't toiled all day, burned candle all through the night, and got it to the level of becoming a professor and emerging as a vice chancellor at that level, as it were. You just think wanting to play fast. What promotion can be better than the one you already have? So I think while we are telling him to be talking to his people and also appealing to traditional rulers and religious leaders to also, and civil society should also do their part and let these people know that the people, the masses, as Ambassador Samore will always say, that a time will come, the people soldier will arise, and when they arise, the ordinary government soldier cannot beat them off. So I think the people are getting set.
Our studio line is going to be open shortly, so you can also call and be part of the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. By Assent, we've heard of people calling for the sack of INEC chairman, the sack of IGP. I mean, are these necessary, particularly against the background that the election is so close, just about 2 months away?
Well, those who are making such calls may have their reasons for doing that. For me, I believe that nobody is indispensable. The president has that prerogative, but you must, for a good reason, exercise that discretion, and you must also balance it with the interest of the nation, as it were. God forbid any of them drops there today.
The job must continue.
The job must continue. So it's not whether or not we should sack or we should retain. It's about looking as to whether or not they can perform the task that has been assigned to them. And if it is obvious that they cannot, there's nothing wrong with changing them. But I quickly want to say this. My friend has been talking about this distrust, this lack of confidence between the National Assembly and the presidency, as it were. For me, ordinarily, and in the right position, that is not a problem. The whole idea is for them to act as check and balance against each other. It's not for you to parley. It's not for you to say, oh, because this has come from the president, it must go. Or the president to say, oh, because this has come from the National Assembly, it must go. It is the selfishness that is behind it. That is my concern. The president cannot be right before the National Assembly all the time. And the National Assembly cannot be right before the president all the time. So if what is guiding there at every point in time is the interest of this nation, it doesn't matter to me whether they smile together or not. So we must look at it from that angle. If you say that, oh, because I'm having running battle with the National Assembly, what I want from them, they have not given me, any bill they send to me, I will not assign it. The country suffers.
Absolutely.
And so that should not be an idea. Once, even though your enemy is saying what is right, tell him that what he has said is right.
Okay. Bishop, is there any window of opportunity for the Senate to commence this process of sending the bill back to the president again for assent?
I don't think there should be such a window. I don't also think it's advisable to send this bill back to the president for the 5th time. Any sensible person will think of the next alternative, which is vetoing this bill, if they can muster the 2/3 as required by law.
Are you saying the National Assembly don't have the 2/3 to veto?
For me, the way I have studied the National Assembly as of today, they don't have 2/3, but they have simple majority.
Okay.
The law is not talking about simple majority. The law is specific about what should be done. And if what the specific is all about is a figure, 2/3, they need to muster 2/3 to pass it. And I'm sure that if they're able to get it today, that bill will fly.
All right, Barrister Egbohan, final word on the options available. We talked about the National Assembly vetoing it. You also talked about some other provisions which can be explored. Could you expatiate on this in just a few minutes?
I think the National Assembly vetoing it is a equivalent task, considering the fact that even the head of the National Assembly are all sitting on the keg of the compound. They are more interested in securing their offices to the end, and maybe the House of Rep Dogara returning to the National Assembly under a new party, PDP. Because that is what is bothering them now, and trying to muster to gather the National Assembly members to veto it. It's a whole lot of resources. That is not what they disclose openly. It's going to be money against money. One money to sit at home and one money to come to sitting.
Correct.
And you trust the government that the money to sit at home will be far higher than the money to come for sitting, particularly when the opposition parties even struggling with the finances for campaign nation.
Okay, Barrister Tame.
Well, it's only a slight reaction to my learned friend's view about the issue of mistrust, that they are not there to parley themselves. You see, when you are talking about sensitive national issue, there must be a synergy. The issue of card reader, for example, of course, we have accepted the principles, all the stakeholders, the president, members of the National Assembly, that card reader is an integral part of a good electoral process. The point being made is, at the point of passing a bill, why can't you convoke stakeholders meeting, deliberate, have a robust debate on these issues, so that such bill can sail through in the interest of the nation? Must we now wait at a time where you discover that, oh, if Mr. President is not able to pass it, or is not able to sign it into law, and you're not able to veto it, then we will now be in such a state that everybody is confused? Must it get to that stage? That is why the synergy is very important. Because what both strong institutions in this country, National Assembly and the presidency, has done to this nation now is a disservice, a political disservice.
Okay. Yes. All right, Comrade Collins Samadi. What are your thoughts as it relates to public perception of the goings on, particularly against the background that both the ruling party, the APC, and the major opposition party, the PDP, have released their manifestos to Nigerians as to where they want to take us to if given the opportunity? You talk about the next level. You talked about let's get Nigeria work again. Let me get your thoughts along those lines. Comrade Collins, yes, I wanted to get your thoughts on the last question that I raised.
Yes, thank you. The Nigerian feelings are already obvious. If you go on social media, if you go on the street, if you go on the market, even if you are in the church, go even into the mosque, you can already see or feel the Nigerians, disposition already. I am sure, and I already know, as many have spoken with, they are not willing and ever ready to enter the next level with the president and his team. Because, for more than a year, I have been agitating and crying that this team that is working with Mr. President do not also have an idea on what to do. Because it's not a one-man show. It's supposed to be a teamwork. This team is working with are inefficient, are incapable. Their own is how they can secure themselves and not to be swapped after first half of the administration. So all they can do is all for themselves and for themselves. So nobody at the time was even listening, even when I was in their party. Some persons felt it was an act of, being unfaithful to the party.
Okay, I want to say big thanks to Comrade Collins, Amadou Sangai, Barrister Ede Asenogwa, and Bishop Usadolo Uche, Barrister Presta Egbohan, and of course, Barrister Ovesei Otami. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time with us on the program. I want to say big thanks to all our viewers and listeners across the world for being a part of the program, Politics Today. Just in case you missed out, be sure to go online to our YouTube page, youtube.com/ITV Radio NG. You can get a full package there. Please always remember to leave a comment there. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun. Thank you for staying with us. Do have a great weekend. Bye for now.